For years, the narrative has been simple. The UK housing market is broken. Generation rent, mortgage famine, housing crisis. These headlines echo across London, Manchester, and even secondary cities like Leeds and Bristol. But what if we told you that beyond the glare of the overpriced metros, there are entire swathes of the United Kingdom where property prices aren't just low, they're shockingly low. So low, in fact, that with as little as $100 in hand, you could realistically get started on securing a piece of land, or in some cases, even a roof over your head. It sounds like a scam. It's not. It sounds too good to be true. But in 2025, with regional population shifts, economic rebalancing, and the ripple effects of long-term austerity still being felt in certain post-industrial zones, there exist locations across the UK where prices have dropped to levels unheard of in modern Britain. Entire properties, real, legal, mortgageable homes, are being listed for £10,000, £15,000, even £5,000. With a dollar now hovering around 78 pence, that means in some areas, $100 is enough to cover your deposit, your legal fees, your first month's council tax, and in rare cases, your opening bid on the home itself. These aren't derelict piles of rubble in the Outer Hebrides. These are actual habitable towns and villages with infrastructure, rail stations, public services, and populations who've simply watched the housing market pass them by for the last 30 years. And for the buyer willing to look past London's glitter and Instagram aesthetics, these places offer something radical: dignity, ownership, and the power to live cheaply and securely. This is Act 1 of a 4-part exploration. We're going to walk you through the most underpriced, underestimated, and under-discussed housing markets in the UK, what we're calling states, not in the administrative sense, but in the cultural, regional, and economic reality of how Britain divides itself. And it begins here. County Durham. If there's one place in the UK where housing prices defy gravity, it's County Durham. Nestled in the northeast of England, between Newcastle and the North Pennines, this ancient county has become one of the last true refugees for those seeking home ownership on a shoestring. Once the engine room of Britain's coal industry, County Durham is now dotted with ex-mining villages, market towns, and empty terraces where prices seem trapped in a 1990s time loop. In 2025, it is still possible, shockingly possible, to buy a home here for under £20,000. In places like Hordern, Easington Colliery, and Shildon, 2-bedroom terraced houses are listed at £12,000 to £18,000. These aren't auction-only disasters. They're on Rightmove, with keys, doors, working electricity, and legal titles. There are homes in Ferryhill where you could walk in tomorrow with £100 in your account, strike a rent-to-buy agreement, or pay a token deposit and start your journey to ownership. Why is it so cheap? County Durham was hit brutally by the collapse of the coal industry. Whole communities that once thrived on colliery wages were left without jobs, without infrastructure renewal, and without media attention. The region stagnated. The middle classes fled. And while nearby cities, like Newcastle, modernised, many Durham villages stood still. But the houses didn't disappear. They just waited. Rows and rows of sturdy red brick terraces built to house miners in the Edwardian era still stand. Most are structurally sound. Many are already refurbished by investors who've realised the rental potential. Public transport is decent. There are trains from Durham to London. Bus links reach everywhere. Broadband infrastructure has improved, and towns like Bishop Auckland are seeing new investments in culture and tourism. For under £25,000, you could own a home 5 minutes from a Norman castle with countryside views and Victorian architecture. And it's not just housing. Living costs in Durham are astonishingly low. Groceries, council tax, utility bills. all are below the national average. A single person can live here comfortably on less than £600 a month. That $100? It could realistically cover your setup costs. And from there, the freedom begins. East Ayrshire, Scotland doesn't often feature in housing affordability headlines, but it should, especially regions like East Ayrshire, where former industrial towns are now quietly offering some of the cheapest housing stock in the country. Towns like Cumnock, Muirkirk and Auchinleck are not just affordable, they're so undervalued, they might as well be paying you to move in. East Ayrshire once thrived on textiles, coal and agriculture. But when globalisation shifted production overseas, the economy shrank. What remained was an overlooked landscape of stone cottages, council-built semis and 19th century terraces, all left behind by the market. Now in 2025, that market is starting to stir. First-time buyers from Glasgow are peaking south. Digital nomads are realising they can own for less than renting. But prices? Still absurdly low. You'll find habitable homes in Muirkirk for £10,000. 3-bedroom fixer-uppers in New Cumnock for £15,000. 1-bedroom flats for £6,000. The council is offering grants for renovation in certain zones. Land can be claimed through community housing associations. If you show up with $100, you could feasibly cover your solicitor's deposit and secure a promise of sale within days. But here's the twist. East Ayrshire is beautiful. Genuinely, dramatically, raw Scotland, beautiful. Mist-covered hills, rivers, castles and untouched moorland. It's like owning a slice of a postcard with no tourist tax. The town of Cumnock is being redeveloped. Trails and cycle routes are being laid. Schools are being modernised. You're an hour from Glasgow, but a world away in terms of price. In this county, £100 isn't a joke. It's the start of a housing plan. If you can live with unpredictable weather and fewer Pret a Mangers, East Ayrshire is a low-cost paradise in waiting. Blaenau, Gwent. If the UK had a forgotten son, it would be Blaenau, Gwent. This small Welsh county, nestled between the Brecon Beacons and the industrial valleys of South Wales, is a place of epic contrasts. On one side, wild mountains, waterfalls, and quiet beauty. On the other, towns that once powered Britain's industrial revolution, now weathered, weary, and deeply affordable. Places like Ebb Vale, Abertillery, and Tredegar were once booming steel and coal hubs. Now, their terraced streets sit half empty, with estate agents struggling to find buyers. The result? Prices so low they boggle the mind. You can buy an entire 2-bedroom house in Ebb Vale for £18,000. 3 beds in Abertillery for £22,000. Flats in Tredegar start at £9,000. Many are mortgageable, some are ready to live in. And yes, in some circumstances, £100 is enough to begin the buying process, especially through schemes or direct owner deals. Why so low? As jobs disappeared, so did the demand. But the houses stayed. Blaenau, Gwent was left behind during Wales's economic revival, and while Cardiff and Swansea soared, these valleys drifted. But something is shifting. Remote work is opening new doors, infrastructure grants are arriving, and locals are beginning to renovate from within. The cost of living is almost unimaginably low. A family of 2 could get by on £800 a month, including all bills and food. Council tax bands are at the lowest levels in the UK. Nature is free and it's everywhere. You can hike up a hill and see sheep, forest, ruins and coastlines all before breakfast. The biggest barrier? Mindset. Outsiders still view Blaenau, Gwent as too far, too remote or too poor. But that's exactly why it remains such a golden opportunity. The streets are real. The homes are solid. The pricing? Practically a dare. 1. Northumberland. Northumberland is England's northernmost county, a land of ancient castles, rugged coastline, and landscapes so dramatic they look CGI rendered. But beyond its postcard vistas lies something even more astonishing. Some of the lowest property prices in the entire United Kingdom. In certain corners of this majestic region, housing is so affordable, it almost sounds made up. Yet it's entirely real. Take the town of Blyth, for instance. Once a bustling shipbuilding centre, now a quiet seaside town with great bones and even greater bargains. You can still find two-bedroom flats here for £18,000. In nearby Ashington, a town that once thrived on coal, homes are routinely listed between £15,000 and £25,000. Move inland to places like New Biggin by the Sea, and you'll find old terraces steps from the coast selling for less than £30,000. And in forgotten hamlets further north, like Linamouth or Amble, you might even stumble upon a fixer-upper for under £10,000. What makes Northumberland unique is that it doesn't feel like a place where prices should be this low. The natural surroundings are world-class. Bamburgh Castle, Hadrian's Wall, miles of open, untouched countryside, beaches so vast and empty they look like the Outer Hebrides. And yet, because the local economy hasn't fully modernised and transport links to major cities are limited, the property market has remained astonishingly flat. But that's beginning to change. With the remote work revolution now firmly embedded in UK culture, more and more people are realising they don't have to pay Newcastle or York prices to live well. Broadband infrastructure has improved drastically. Bus and rail links are being slowly upgraded. There's a sense of gentle momentum returning to many of these towns. More importantly, the local councils want people to come. In some cases, there are small grants or low-interest loan programs to encourage renovation or new business creation. You bring the vision. They'll help with the scaffolding. And because so many of the homes are freehold, your monthly overheads can be astonishingly low. For under £500 a month, you can live in peace, in space, in stone-built dignity. In Northumberland, $100 could be the start of a new life, one where the stress of rent, credit checks, and postcode snobbery dissolves into salt air and soft winds. If there's a better-kept secret in England, it hasn't been found. 2. Inverclyde. Inverclyde is a name most people won't recognise, unless they've studied maps of the western Scottish coast. This narrow council area, west of Glasgow and bordered by the River Clyde, is perhaps the most underrated piece of real estate in the entire UK. Why? Because it offers the kind of maritime lifestyle most people dream of. Views of the water, Victorian architecture, proximity to cities, all at a fraction of the price you'd expect. In towns like Greenock, Port Glasgow and Garrock, the housing market is still catching up to reality. In Greenock, it's not uncommon to see one-bedroom flats listed for £20,000. Some go even lower, £12,000 or £14,000, for properties that are entirely habitable, not just shells. Two-bed terraces in Port Glasgow range from £25,000 to £35,000. And occasionally, a top-floor Victorian flat with sea views will hit the market for £30,000 or less. The region's affordability can be traced back to deindustrialisation. This was shipbuilding country. Thousands of jobs vanished over a single generation, and entire towns were left to economically tread water. But even as industry faltered, the bones of these towns remained solid. Grand old homes, wide boulevards, and some of the most jaw-dropping views in Britain. Now, slowly, regeneration is arriving. The riverside promenades are being cleaned up. Cruise ships occasionally dock in Greenock. Rail links to Glasgow are fast and frequent, under 40 minutes, door to door. And yet prices remain decades behind. This isn't speculation. This is mismatch, a quiet, ongoing undervaluation of property that cannot last. Inverclyde is also surprisingly livable. The cost of council tax is lower than in most of England. Supermarkets are cheap. Public transport is reliable. And while there are pockets of deprivation, there's also real community spirit. People know their neighbours. Pubs still matter. The rhythm of life feels more like the 1990s than 2025, and that's a compliment. If you walked into Inverclyde today with $100, you could secure a lawyer, begin a negotiation, and easily cover the opening costs of a one-bed flat. In some direct sale cases, that $100 might even put your name on a deed. As long as you're willing to live where few outsiders look, you'll find value here that borders on the surreal. Third, Lancashire. Lancashire is the land of cotton mills, pies, and brutally underrated housing. Once one of the industrial titans of the north, it's now better known for quiet towns, coastal nostalgia, and bargain basement property. For those priced out of Yorkshire or Merseyside, Lancashire offers an unbeatable combo: livable homes, thriving communities, and prices so low they feel fictional. Start with Nelson and Burnley. These two East Lancashire towns, long dismissed by national press, offer 2- and 3-bedroom terraces for £20,000 to £30,000. Some, in back-to-back rows, are being sold by landlords or repossession agents for as low as £12,000. They have plumbing, heating, doors, many even come partially furnished. Blackpool, the country's most famous faded seaside resort, is also seeing a strange surge in ultra-affordable property. Flats here can be had for £15,000, houses for £30,000. Even in the central strip, where tourism still breathes life into the local economy, small homes can go for prices last seen in the 1990s. And in towns like Accrington, Skelmersdale, and Darwin, it's more of the same. Rows and rows of solid, often stone-built housing that just haven't caught up with the national surge. So what's the catch? Mainly image. Lancashire has long been pigeonholed as past its prime, and while parts are indeed struggling, many towns are bouncing back. Burnley, for instance, now has a university campus, a tech sector, and better transport links than most realise. The local councils are motivated, the infrastructure is workable, and the people? Tough, practical, community-minded. There's also a growing movement of urban homesteaders and lifestyle minimalists choosing Lancashire for exactly this reason. Why spend £200,000 on a London flat when you can own 5 homes in Burnley for the same price and rent 4 of them out? If you've ever wanted to be a landlord, an investor, or simply a mortgage-free homeowner, this is where the math finally makes sense. $100 in Lancashire is not a joke. It's a ticket to step off the hamster wheel. Whether it's your down payment, your auction entry fee, or your solicitor's retainer, it's more than symbolic. It's practical. You're not just buying property, you're buying peace. 4. Merthyr Tydfil. If there's one town in the UK that embodies both the tragedy and potential of post-industrial Britain, it's Merthyr Tydfil. Located in South Wales, just north of Cardiff, Merthyr is a town with deep scars from the collapse of coal mining, but also an undeniable spark beneath the soot. And when it comes to affordable housing, it might just be the crown jewel of all 10 regions. You can still find 2-bedroom terraced houses in Merthyr for under £20,000. 3-bedroom family homes are routinely listed between £22,000 and £30,000 with working plumbing, heating, and livable interiors. 1-bedroom flats sell for as little as £12,000. These aren't fake prices. They're on Rightmove, Zoopla, and local agency windows. With just $100 in your pocket, you could realistically pay your solicitor's fee and enter a mortgage or rent-to-own deal on a full house. What makes Merthyr extraordinary is how fast its image is changing. For decades, it was the poster child for unemployment, addiction, and poverty. But slowly, new life is being breathed into the town. The Brecon Mountain Railway draws tourists year-round. Mountain biking and hiking trails crisscross the valleys. The Welsh government has invested in infrastructure, transport, and health. The local hospital is well equipped. Schools are improving. And the cost of living? Remarkably low. You can heat your home, feed a family, and live well here on less than £800 a month. Public transport links Merthyr directly to Cardiff in under an hour, And with the South Wales Metro project expanding, even faster connections are coming. What sets Merthyr apart is its grit. People don't just survive here, they build, they renovate, they hustle. This is a place where your money stretches further, not just in housing, but in lifestyle. Nature is free, community is strong, and pride, though weathered, runs deep. 5. East Riding of Yorkshire. On the opposite end of the Welsh valleys, East Riding of Yorkshire offers a completely different flavour of affordability. Quiet countryside villages, wind-swept coasts, and sprawling flatlands dotted with agricultural hamlets that time seems to have passed by. While the spotlight shines on Leeds and York, the East Riding remains a treasure trove of cheap property, especially for buyers who want space, safety, and simplicity. In towns like Goole, Withernsea, and Hornsea, house prices are shockingly low. In Goole, a port town that's seen better days, you can still buy a habitable two-bedroom home for £25,000. In Withernsea, a full house near the sea might list for £30,000. Flats go for as little as £10,000 to £15,000. Some properties are cash only due to lender restrictions, but many qualify for mortgages. In certain cases, vendors are open to payment plans or assisted purchases. And yes, a determined buyer could start the process with just $100 to cover initial, legal, or holding costs. What makes the East Riding so compelling is its geography. It borders the Humber estuary and reaches out to the North Sea. It's flat, yes, but peaceful. You can walk for miles without seeing a soul. The air is clean. Crime is low. The pace is slow. For retirees, remote workers, or families looking to downsize their expenses and upgrade their quality of life, this is heaven. Unlike inner city bargains, East Riding's cheap homes aren't surrounded by dereliction or high crime. They're just under the radar. These are old shipping and farming towns that lost population, not functionality. There are still schools, NHS practices, grocery stores, and parks. The road links to Hull, York, and even Leeds are manageable. You don't live in isolation. You live in quiet independence. It's the kind of place where nobody talks about market trends. The homes don't go viral. They just sit, waiting for someone to notice. 6th Fermanagh and Omagh cross the Irish Sea, and the landscape changes dramatically. But the housing bargains remain. In Northern Ireland, the combined district of Fermanagh and Omagh stands out as perhaps the most breathtakingly beautiful, yet astonishingly affordable region in the UK. Nestled among lofts, forests, and rolling green hills, this district has some of the lowest average house prices in the entire country. In Enniskillen, Fermanagh's charming lakeside capital, you'll find homes for £30,000. Go further out into the rural areas, and the prices drop even more. Cottages in villages like Irvinestown or Lisnaskea can be had for under £25,000. Two-bedroom bungalows in isolated but picturesque settings sell for under £20,000. One-bedroom flats occasionally list for as little as £10,000. And because Northern Ireland uses the same legal structure as the rest of the UK, the process is just as accessible for buyers from England, Scotland, or Wales. With $100, you could feasibly begin the process of purchasing land, a derelict home, or a small flat, with room to negotiate payment plans or local assistance. What makes Fermanagh and Omagh exceptional is not just affordability, but quality of life. The scenery is jaw-dropping. You're surrounded by lakes, rivers, ancient castles, and some of the best fishing and hiking in Europe. Crime rates are among the lowest in the UK. Life is peaceful here in a way that few modern areas can match. Sure, you'll need a car, broadband may be patchy in the far reaches, and the nightlife is subtle. But for people who dream of solitude, safety, and serenity on a budget, this is paradise. And the kicker? Because of its rural nature and lower incomes, Northern Ireland's cost of living is also far below the UK average. Heating oil is cheaper than gas. Food is locally sourced and affordable. Medical services are strong. It's a place where a small budget doesn't mean small living. It means smart living. 7. Lincolnshire. Our final stop brings us to Lincolnshire, a vast and often forgotten county in the east of England. With its patchwork of farmland, seaside towns, and medieval market centres, Lincolnshire feels like a time capsule, but one that's quietly stuffed with property bargains. Skegness, Boston, and Gainsborough are the front runners. In Skegness, a town once famous for its Butlins holiday camp, houses sell for £25,000 to £35,000. Flats for under £15,000 are not unusual. In Boston, which has seen massive demographic changes in recent years, two-bed terraces regularly list for £30,000. And in places like Spalding and Mablethorpe, bungalows and retirement properties go for far below national averages. What makes Lincolnshire's housing so cheap? A mix of low demand, an ageing population, and regional isolation. But here's the twist. People who move here tend to stay. There's something uniquely comfortable about Lincolnshire. The crime rate is low. People nod at each other in the street. You can garden, walk, keep chickens, or just sit on a bench and breathe. $100 in Lincolnshire isn't just a metaphor, it's a toolkit. It could be the first step toward a debt-free home, a quieter life, and a housing future no longer tethered to rising rents or insecure tenancies. Legal fees are low. Council taxes are modest. DIY repairs are cheap. And the land? Plentiful. What's more, Lincolnshire isn't completely cut off. Trains run to Nottingham and Leicester. Roads connect to the A1. Mobile signal is surprisingly good. And if you've ever wanted a home with a garden, a shed, or even a bit of land, you'll find it here, at a price so low you'll double-check the zeros. They are the UK's last affordable frontiers, where land still has meaning, where homes still cost less than the annual income of an average worker, and where the dream of ownership still belongs to the bold, not just the rich. Sure, they're not all glamorous. You won't find glass towers, luxury gyms, or sushi conveyor belts here. You'll find cracked pavement, flaking paint, and communities rebuilding themselves from the ground up. But what you get in return is something that London, Manchester, and even Birmingham no longer offer. Control, autonomy, a chance to live without debt eating at your ankles every month. The time to act is now, because the world is watching. Investors are sniffing around Blaenau, Gwent. Regeneration money is flowing into County Durham. The word is spreading on Reddit, TikTok, and in backdoor landlord circles. These joke prices won't last. The question isn't, is this real? It is. The question isn't, is this smart? It's the smartest financial move most people can make. The real question is, will you get in before the door quietly closes? Because once it does, the rest of the country will wake up, and you'll be standing on the other side with keys in your hand, land under your feet, and a home that cost you less than a monthly London rent check.